Hey Laura, our kids should totally hang out. My daughter is also a ballerina princess, according to her. Oh, these are funny. These are funny. I laughed out loud when I was looking at these. Okay, so you got all your contact sheets, 40 images, perfect, and thank you for giving us the technical information at the bottom. Best case scenario, you also tell us your ISO and the focal length lens that you're shooting at. I know there's not much space, so prioritize, definitely do what you did. Prioritize your shutter speed and your aperture. If you can squeeze in ISO and focal length lens, all the better. Okay, and so here's your two finals. Very different lighting. Very good. And then here are your equipment shots. Unfortunately, these equipment shots end up not being terribly useful because you didn't shoot in front of the, or did you? Is this the same place? I see. It's the same place, but you put a piece of cloth in front of it. Okay, so they're a little bit more helpful, but every time you change your lighting, we need a new equipment shot. So I can tell, based between these two images, that there's a significant difference in where your lights are, and we don't have shots of that. Also, it's helpful to tell us if your key light, if you're intending for your key light to be functioning on camera left or camera right, you know, so here you've got your key light on camera right, and then this is more fill, but we don't know because we don't have a shot explaining to us where these lights are actually placed in the scene. So it's really important to give us as many equipment shots as you need to. Every time you change your lighting, give us a new equipment shot. All right. And so, yes, I think that the fabric helps. It helps be less distracting. But you know what becomes distracting is her shadow. And the shadow is happening in part because she's standing way up against the backdrop. And my advice in this class is often so frequently, please pull your subject matter several feet away from your backdrop. There's many, 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 many reasons to do this. One is you can get the backdrop out of the depth of field so that we don't see every little bit of wrinkle and fabric and whatever on it. This is particularly lovely fabric, but you won't always have such lovely fabric. So if you pull her away from the backdrop by, say, 5 to 10 feet, the fabric is out of the depth of field, and it's no longer as distracting. Two, if the fabric is 5 to 10 feet away from her, you can light the background independently from your subject, and then you don't have weird shadows all over the place. I mean, she looks like she's outlined, you know? It's just really strange. In this case, it's not as distracting because the backdrop is acting like some kind of dramatic, moody thing here, so it's not as bad. You know, so sometimes it works to have the backdrop close, but so here it's working okay, and here it's not working at all. So just, you know, start to think about that, because with clients, you'll have to be making these decisions, and this is typically a no-no. Don't have your subject matter pressed right up against the background. Give several feet, many, many feet, as many feet as you can between your subject and your background. I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then here I can see what you're doing is you're using your lights undiffused. So it would have been helpful in your write-up for you to tell us that. Like, I'm using my light, I'm using hard light. I didn't diffuse it. I had it relatively close to my subject, so we can see it's pretty close to my subject. So it's casting hard shadows because that's the mood that I was going for. It's harder here. This light feels a lot harder here. So I'm wondering if the lights are just pulled further away from her, and that's effectively making them feel harder, and here the lights are closer, that's effectively making them seem softer. Let me look at your exposure settings. Yeah, it could be. I mean, you have less exposure here. There's about, not quite, but 1 stop less exposure. Oh no, more than a stop. It's about 1.5 stops less exposure. Okay. So it's hard to say. So my advice to you is this is a good first shot in the studio. Good work. Now start working with your modification tools. You know, start using bounce and diffusers and flags and all sorts of things. If you have any questions about that, go ahead and post them in Problems and Solutions, and I will happily give you whatever information you require. And then also, you know, start to think about your final shot and how you could solve aesthetic problems like these shadows. You know, always be thinking about that. This is a great piece of fabric to have, so hold on to that. That's really nice. And then loved the contact sheets. These are really fun to look at. And it looks like she really had well, except for maybe right here, she's having a lot of fun with you. So you're doing a great job keeping your model happy and enthusiastic and comfortable. Okay, so that's good. You know, and I really think that these ballerina shots have a lot of potential. You know, if you can solve the aesthetic problem of the shadow, I think that this is worth revisiting in another shoot. Okay, thank you, Laura. This was really nice to look at.